Hello, I'm Karen Greer, news anchor and reporter at WSB-TV in Atlanta. Welcome to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young debate series from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting. The 2026 debate series was made possible by the grants to the Atlanta Press Club from the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation and the Robert Charles Loudermilk Senior Foundation. This is the debate for Democratic candidates running for Georgia Lieutenant Governor. We have two esteemed journalists who will question the candidates. Faith Jesse is a news anchor and co-host of The Georgia Vote on 11 Alive in Atlanta, and Ty Tagami is a reporter for Capitol Beat in Atlanta. I'm going to kick off today's debate asking each of the candidates to introduce themselves and tell viewers why they should be Georgia's next Lieutenant Governor. Candidates will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves, and we will go in alphabetical order right now, starting with Josh McLaurin.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Greer, and thank you to the Press Club. It's so good to be back. I want to start out by saying I'm so grateful to the over 1 million Democratic voters that showed up on Tuesday, May 19th to make our voices heard. It's undeniable proof that we're ready for November. We're going to win, and I'm going to do everything I can to get Governor Keisha Lance Bottoms elected, along with Senator John Ossoff for his reelection. Look, this is about playing as a team. You need a fighter in the arena who's going to show up and deliver results, and that means you have to play well with others. I'm so honored to be endorsed by over 60 of my state legislative colleagues, and since we last had the previous debate, I've been honored to be endorsed by Stacey Abrams, who has done so much work to transform Georgia politics. And in addition, I've been endorsed by the Young Democrats of Georgia, Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, Georgia Equality, and many other groups, because they trust me to lead in a moment where we need fighters who show up and stay in the arena. On June 17th, we have a special session under the new Supreme Court decision that will determine the future of black voting power in Georgia. I'm the only candidate in this race that will be there to fight.
Nabila Parks, tell people who you are.
Hi, I'm Nabila Parks. I was twice elected to the state senate. I'm a proud mother of 3 and also the proud daughter of working class immigrants from Bangladesh. My parents came to this country seeking the American dream, and they worked working class jobs to give me and my little brother a life they never had. I grew up attending Gwinnett County Public Schools. I grew up on free and reduced lunches. And with the help of the Hope Scholarship, I worked my way through Georgia State University, becoming the first person in my life to graduate from college, in my family to graduate from college. Now, my life experiences have informed my work, and that's why I'm running for Lieutenant Governor, because we need a fighter who's gonna fight for working class families, like mine and the family that I grew up in. We need to protect our fundamental freedoms, like our reproductive rights and our voting rights. And we also need to expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia. And we need a fighter who's going to take the fight to MAGA Republicans and hold them accountable for the harms that they have caused our communities.
Thank you both very much. For the full set of debate rules, please visit atlantapressclub.org. Our panel will now ask a question to an individual candidate. We're going to start with Faith Jesse, who will ask a question for Nabila Parks. And once again, you have 60 seconds for your response.
Ms. Parks, thank you so much. My first question for you is that Republicans have painted you as one of the most progressive members of the Senate, now former member of the Senate. Are they right?
I'm a principled Democrat, so I would say that I am someone that's 10 toes down for the Democratic agenda.
Okay. Next question.
This is for Senator McLaurin. Thanks for being here. Your opponent has talked about her working class roots, and she's pointed in the past to your upbringing. You attended Westminster, you went to Yale Law School, an elite education. How can you relate to the problems that working class people are experiencing with affordability?
Sure, and I have not leaned super hard on my background, and I do want to let people know. I mean, my dad grew up in poverty in East Texas. My mom, a similar situation, I think was born on a farm or was raised on a farm in central Kentucky. And they moved in 1984 to Atlanta for better work opportunities and used a huge portion of their income to send me to Westminster. We did not live close, and we had to drive in, which is why I know the transportation issues so well, because I've dealt with Atlanta traffic from a very early age. But I think what's more important than whether you can relate directly is how much you're willing to give back. And in my case, I've been very fortunate to go to law school, to be able to fight for people who are incarcerated in Georgia. I've worked a lot on criminal legal reform, even emailing with the Department of Corrections in individual cases when people needed to be moved because of safety risks within our prison facilities. So it matters to walk the walk, and it matters to show up. And I won't apologize for the ways in which I'm trying to give back. I think that at the end of the day, we want people who are going to pour themselves out and give everything that they've got, and that's what I've really tried to do.
All right, Ty, your next question for Nabila Parks.
So, Ms. Parks, your opponent has criticized you in the past for leaving the legislature mid-session. Your seat was unfilled. To run for lieutenant governor. And I'm wondering, he's intimated that you've alienated some of your own party. You'd be lieutenant governor over a chamber that's largely Republican, but also without support among Democrats. How would you win that back? How would you lead?
Well, I was proud to win my Senate district on election night, and I have lots of supporters who are, supporting me for lieutenant governor. I got over 400,000 votes. I've essentially tied with my opponent here, and I've ran a race within only 2 months, and I caught up with Senator McLaurin. I would say that our campaign has momentum. Our campaign's message is resonating with voters. This is a campaign that is going to fight for working class families. I will be a lieutenant governor that will take the fight to Republicans and ensure that we shape a working class agenda in the state Senate and that we deliver for Georgians instead of focusing on these culture war fights that Republicans have been doing for the last 4 years.
Faith, you have the last question in this round for Mr. McLaurin.
Mr. McLaurin, my question for you is that you've been very critical of Governor Brian Kemp and Republicans, of course. But is there one policy that you feel should stand?
That Governor Kemp did that should stand?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. I mean, one thing that I think that he has done well is that he has tried to set a tone of professionalism in some of our agencies, right? And there are good partners in some state agencies that I've worked with. The Department of Veterans Service is a great example. I'm on the Veterans Committee and have worked directly with them to try to fight harmful bills and also look out for veterans in the state of Georgia. That's a person who's serving under Brian Kemp. But, one of the things my opponent's been really critical of in this debate is that I have a lot of working relationships with Republicans. I'm not ashamed of that. You have to work with Republicans. And whoever wins this race is going to preside over a Senate that has a Republican majority for at least a few years. And so it's critical that you be able to at least say some good things about what is happening in a bipartisan way. That's the only way that I got the first ever statewide car booting regulations passed, or $1 million in the state budget for breakthrough therapies for veterans with PTSD. Those aren't ideas Republicans handed to me. Those are ideas that I came up with and then worked with Republicans on. So yes, Brian Kemp has made some decent appointments.
All right, that concludes our first round. Each candidate now will ask a question to their opponent. You'll have 30 seconds to ask the question, 60 seconds for a response, and the person who asked the question will get a 30-second rebuttal. Justice McLaurin, please ask a question for Nabila Parks.
Thank you, Ms. Greer. So, Ms. Parks, I think we have a lot of the same policy positions. We both talk about expanding Medicaid. There's a lot that we agree on. We even had a group chat one time where we were pretty progressive in the state Senate together. I think what's going to be useful for voters is knowing the distinction between showing up versus resigning and quitting on the fight. So now that we know that Kemp has called a special session for June 17th, a 60-year generational civil rights moment in which we're going to defend black voting power, how could you possibly say you're a fighter to your constituents when you've resigned your seat and you've left open the possibility that a Republican will fill that seat for a generational civil rights fight in the state Senate?
I got into this race because you weren't doing the work for an entire year, and it's evidenced by the fact that I caught up with you in 2 months. We need someone that's going to be able to flip the seat in November and flip it for the first time. We need a Democratic lieutenant governor. We need to be able to win power. I am confident that Democratic Adrian White, who is running for the special session for my seat, will win this election. I've endorsed her. For the last 4 years, I have built up Democratic infrastructure to make sure that a Democrat continues to win that seat. I won it by 10 points in 2024, and I'm confident that Adrian White will be the next state senator for District 7.
My response is this. Ms. Parks thinks that a campaign is smoke and mirrors. She thinks that the work I did for a year to go to hundreds of events, county parties all over the state, to meet people like Miss Evelyn in Houston County or seek Mayor Van Johnson's endorsement in Savannah, that showing up to these communities didn't matter. She raised $160,000 since she resigned, and she bought a $200,000 TV ad. Now, you do the math on that, but that 15-second ad was the only campaign she ran. So do not buy that I did not run a campaign. She believes in money. She believes in campaigning from behind a screen, and she has abandoned her voters on June 17th who might be electing a Republican in this generational civil rights fight.
All right, Ms. Parks, your question for Mr. McLaurin.
So in the state Senate, I introduced legislation to cut taxes for working families, including cutting taxes on menstrual products, on baby products like diapers and strollers and cribs, and also bringing back the school supply tax day holiday that saved working families $50 million a year. You introduced an amendment that would create a Donald Trump first license plate. It's an amendment that I voted no on, and you voted yes, and it almost passed. Can you explain to Georgians why on earth you would introduce such legislation?
So while I was at the Macon Bibbs Democratic Committee yesterday morning hearing from Middle Georgians and their concerns about investment in their region, Ms. Parks was running a poll over text message that a friend of mine sent to me where she was testing several negative possible attacks or messages on me, maybe for use today. I guess maybe the Donald Trump license plate one pulled the best. Is anybody really going to believe that Stacey Abrams has endorsed a person who wants a Donald Trump license plate? No, but that's how little she thinks of voters, that she can run messaging like that and win a campaign at the last minute. It's so preposterous. I introduced an amendment to change the word America to Donald Trump in a bill that I was never going to vote for to make the point skillfully that Republicans had more allegiance to Donald Trump than to America. And if that amendment had passed, there would have been a nationwide headline showing that Senate Republicans have fealty to Donald Trump even over America. That's skill. It's skill to use Senate procedure to make skillful points like this. But again, Ms. Parks doesn't think that you understand that. I got tons of emails from constituents who thought that was a funny play to make a really important point about Senate Republicans' loyalty to Donald Trump, but she's going to use that as a negative message because she doesn't think you understand.
Ms. Parks, you have 30 seconds to respond.
It's not funny. It was a stupid amendment. That's why I voted against it. That's why MAGA Republicans joined you and voted for it. It's ridiculous that you think this is how we're going to fight Republicans. This is a reflection of your leadership. You think this is a joke. In the state Senate, I have fought to expand Medicaid. I have fought against anti-woman legislation. As the first woman to give birth while serving in the state Senate, being pregnant, I didn't know whether or not my baby or I would be able to access the health care that we needed. I've been a fighter since day one, and I will continue to fight for the Democratic agenda.
All right, you are watching the Democratic runoff for...
Okay.
Yeah, we've got to keep moving.
All right.
Democratic debate for Georgia Lieutenant Governor. We now go back to the panel who have some questions for the candidates of their choice until we run out of time. Ty, we're going to begin with you.
This is for both of you. I'll start with Senator McLaurin. If a Republican wins the governor's mansion, on what issues could you see yourselves collaborating with the governor, and on what issues would you dig in your heels and use all the tools you could to resist?
This is a really good question, and I think one of the things we're learning by looking at trends nationally, wealth and income inequality have never been higher. We're basically in a second Gilded Age where robber barons, oligarchs, billionaires are running away at the top of the income bracket with all of the money and all the resources. So what we need to do is not make one-size-fits-all rules. We need to help small businesses, but be wary of handouts to large corporations that just make CEOs richer but don't do anything for working people. So I think there are some ways in which Republicans have tried to reduce red tape for small businesses that actually make quite a bit of sense. Or tax cuts for people at the lower end of the income bracket. That's what I'm willing to support. What I'm not willing to support are tax cuts for the rich or for big corporations that Republicans are sneaking into these bills that they say are for everybody. So let's do some tax relief, let's do some reducing regulation, but let's do it for the people who need it the most. And let's be, again, very skeptical and hold a strong arm against the robber barons who are trying to take everything.
Faith, who would you like to question?
Was that for...
That was for both.
Oh, it's for both. I'm sorry.
Well, I believe that Keisha Lance Bottoms will be our next Democratic governor, but in case there is a Republican governor, I'm sure that we can work together on expanding Medicaid. We're one of 10 states that have yet to do so. Republican states have passed it. I believe that we can work in partnership in passing this, and there's already a coalition of rural Republicans in the state Senate that need hospitals in rural Georgia. I'm happy to work with anyone to expand Medicaid. In addition to that, I'm the only candidate on this stage that has called for a moratorium on data centers. This seems to be an issue on both sides of the party where people don't want more data centers that are being built on the backs of working class families because it's now costing our energy bills. It's now contaminating our water. We need to put a stop to these data centers and make sure that we pass regulation to hold them accountable and make sure that they're paying their fair share.
All right, Faith.
Thank you. My question is also for both candidates. And Ms. Parks, I'll start with you. On the issue of redistricting, there is a special session being called as some Republicans want to move forward with redistricting. In this moment, what is your move to potentially combat it if you don't agree with redistricting?
So when I'm the next lieutenant governor, and listen, to be 100% transparent here. Republicans have the majority during special session. Unfortunately, gerrymandered maps are going to pass. But as the next lieutenant governor, I will make sure that we flip the chamber and we'll do everything that we can to flip the chamber by 2030 so that Democrats are in control when the next redistricting happens. In addition to that, one of my top priorities will be to make sure that we introduce legislation to repeal gerrymandered maps because they're going to have a legitimacy issue. Republicans absolutely will have one. And as lieutenant governor, you get to control the calendar. So I will use my negotiating power to introduce legislation to repeal legislation on gerrymandered maps.
Mr. McLaurin?
Well, Ms. Jessie, you know my answer on June 17th is going to be I'm in the state Senate. I'm going to be fighting against these maps, speaking against them, marching, doing everything we can to protest and to vote against and speak against these unconstitutional maps that are going to take away black voting power. I want the audience to focus on what Ms. Parks just said. They're going to pass anyway. She recently released a press release that said ideas go to die in the state Senate. She has given up. Fighters do not give up, they show up. And the difference between candidates in this race could not be clearer. In a 60-year battle where we're fighting for black voting power after the 1965 Voting Rights Act, people have fought, bled, sweat, and died for the right to vote. So to have the opinion that the vote in the state Senate representing 191,000 people doesn't matter, it doesn't matter that she's not there because it's going to pass anyway, folks, that defeatism is how we lose to Trump. It is why we are in this situation in the first place, and it matters to show up. That's what I mean when I say showing up, is that if you don't put your heart on the line, if you don't go inside that room and look those Republicans in the eye and say you can't do this because it's rolling back 60 years of progress, then you do not belong in this job.
Ty Tagami.
This is for Senator McLaurin. You've said in the past that the GOP respect you, or some members. What evidence of that can you offer?
Okay, well, I can say that I can't name names because I want to protect confidentiality and the relationships that I've built. But I've come back from speeches and heard Republican senators say, you know, I used to serve in a different legislative body and there was always this speaker who would twist the knife and make us feel bad for doing what we were doing. And I just got that feeling listening to you talk. When I did Trump Morning News, which was a way of, telling the Republican state senators what Trump had done that day, whatever bad thing he'd done that day, I wanted to make sure they paid attention. There were 4 Republican state senators who came up to me privately to say, we can't say that, but we're glad that you are. We're glad that somebody has the courage to speak up and say it. I'm being dead serious that they shared this in private. Now, obviously, I think they should be using their voices. I wish they would find some backbone and stand up and say the honest truth about Donald Trump to represent all of us better. But because they're not, it requires that kind of focus. And here's what I've learned. I've learned that they respect people who give it to them straight. Even if you're criticizing them, even if you're getting up in their face, as long as you do it with kindness, as long as you are telling them that you care about the relationship and being honest, they will respect you.
Faith, who's your next question to?
Ms. Parks, I'd like to ask you this question. What issue are you willing to break with national Democrats on?
There's no issue that I would be willing to break with national Democrats on. I believe that when I'm the next lieutenant governor, we are going to present a Democratic agenda that is going to fight for the working class. As I've said over and over again, we have to reduce the cost of living. Our rent has gone up, wages have not. The wages are stagnant. We have to increase the minimum wage. We have to protect our fundamental freedoms, our voting rights, our reproductive rights. We have to expand healthcare access. There are people that have lost healthcare access because they can't afford their healthcare plan anymore because of expiring subsidies. We need to make sure we protect those people, that we expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia, that we also help small businesses. This is the agenda that I will implement when I'm the next lieutenant governor, and I will continue to fight for that.
All right, Ty.
This is for both of you. We'll start with you, Ms. Parks. If Republicans still control the Senate and one of you becomes lieutenant governor, odds are they will strip some power from the lieutenant governor. You've both spoke of being a fighter. What weapons would you have at your disposal?
Well, the odds are is that they will try to take away our power like they did to Mark Taylor when he was the last Democratic lieutenant governor. Look, as the next lieutenant governor, you have the bully pulpit. You have the control of the calendar. There will be priorities that Republicans will want to pass that they will need to work with a Democratic lieutenant governor on. I will use that negotiating power to make sure that priorities like expanding Medicaid, which I said we have a real opportunity to do in building a coalition with Republicans and passing that. And look, when I was in the state Senate, Republicans stole my bills. They stole my bill to extend the school supply tax day holiday. They stole my bill to end the sales tax on menstrual products. There will be bills that we can definitely work together on and pass to help working families.
Mr. McLaurin.
Well, Mr. Takami, thank you for that question. I mean, it's obvious that you have to be able to work with the conditions that you're given. Mark Taylor, who Ms. Parks just mentioned, was the last lieutenant governor who was a Democrat who worked under these circumstances. He has endorsed me. Mark Taylor endorsed my campaign because he knows that I can work across the aisle in these tough situations while not sacrificing my principles. And here's the thing, every talking point that you heard Ms. Parks just say about the things that Democrats need to do, I agree with the policies. We are going to agree violently on all of the policies that Democrats need to advance. The question is, are you going to show up and are you going to get results? I'm the only candidate on this stage who has been able to get my ideas passed. Veterans, post-traumatic stress, funding for research, and the car booting legislation, which I know ATL Scoop and other Instagram accounts followed with interest because there's hundreds of thousands of Georgians that deeply care about that issue. That happened while I was in the minority without formal voting power. So none of this giving up and they're going to get whatever they want and they stole my bill. That is not the way to think about this work. The way to think about this work is what creative opportunities do I have to keep my character and my positions firm, but move the ball on issues that are important to Georgians.
Faith Jesse.
I have a question for both of the candidates. Mr. McLaurin, we'll start with you. Do you support legalizing recreational marijuana in Georgia?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Jesse. Libertarians and Democrats, I think, can agree on this. There are some conservative Republicans in the state Senate who want to go further than not allowing that. They don't even want to allow hemp products to be legal, and we've seen those fights, and I've stood up for regulated legal hemp access in Georgia because I think it's really important that we do value liberty. If we're a country that values freedom and liberty, then let's live up to those values, and let's not let culture war get in the way of people's access to substances, to treatments in some cases that can do a lot of difference for them, can make a big difference medically. But I think there's also a lot of revenue in that. This is just smart public policy. We've seen estimates that we could generate billions in tax revenue from the lawful regulated use of recreational cannabis. And the thing is, it can also function much like cigarette smoke, where you can regulate which public places people can do it in. So I think it's a very smart decision for Georgia, and I think that it could help us fund a lot of our priorities like health care and education and child care.
Ms. Parks, your thoughts on this?
I definitely believe that we should legalize recreational marijuana. We should also tax it so that brings in more revenue for our state. I also believe that by legalizing it, our police officers can focus on real crime. We already know that people that are arrested for marijuana use are disproportionately people of color, Black people, and it's unfair how the justice system, the criminal justice system, treats people of color in this state. And so I think that legalizing it will definitely make it a little more even when it comes to that regard, but also bring in more revenue for the state so that we can, use that money to help working class families.
Ty, we have time for one question to just one of the candidates.
The governor just signed a $38.5 billion budget. So I guess Senator McLaurin, what would you trim from the budget and what would you add to the budget?
Well, I certainly would not have done the line item vetoes that Governor Kemp did on a range of priorities, including mental health care. As we see, I mean, we just heard in the Republican debate an hour ago this phrase conservative budgeting. It's starvation budgeting in the state of Georgia. And Governor Kemp is good at politics, but what he's basically done is he's given back $250, $500 at a time to make it feel like he's doing something for Georgians. Folks, we're in the bottom 20% nationally for median income. We're in the bottom 20% nationally for per capita government expenditure. There's so much more that Georgia could do. Again, expanding Medicaid and fully funding the quality basic education formula where we do a poverty weight, an opportunity weight to allow lower income districts to keep up. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We have behavioral health needs, now comp waivers that help people with significant needs in the behavioral health department. Those were trimmed. Those should have been expanded. We just lack the vision right now under Republican leadership. We've been in the wilderness for 20 years, and people with firm convictions who bring in the right experts to chart out our path with a new budget, we could do a lot with the money that we already bring in.
All right, we're in the home stretch. That's all the time we have for questions right now. The candidates will now have 60 seconds for a closing statement. Ms. Parks, we're going to begin with you.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Look, Democrats have to win power. We see what Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are trying to do. They're trying to take away our voting rights. They've taken away a women's right to choose here in Georgia. We see that mass federal agents, ICE agents, are terrorizing our communities. And we need a proven fighter who will fight back in November. That's why I'm running for lieutenant governor, because I know that with our message, we can flip this seat in November. And also, We don't need a candidate that coddles Republicans like my opponent. We don't need a candidate that goes along to get along like my opponent. We certainly don't need a candidate that was in Fox News praising MAGA fake elector Burt Jones as our Democratic nominee. When I'm the next Lieutenant Governor, I will deliver for Georgians by expanding Medicaid, by lowering the cost of living, by making sure our public schools are fully funded. I'm the mother of 3. I attended public schools, and I will fight for our families like I fight for mine. I humbly ask for your vote. My name is Nabila Parks. Thank you.
Senator McLaurin.
Well, that Fox News bit you just heard was one of the messages that my opponent poll tested yesterday over text message, so I guess maybe that one polled well as well. She's been sending out fundraising emails with made-up quotes that I literally didn't say, but she put quotes around because she campaigns behind a screen. There couldn't be a clearer choice about who your fighter should be in November. Anybody can say the word fighter, but the question is, are you going to show up and are you going to get results? And there are all kinds of bona fide, Democrats who have given their lives to this. Stacey Abrams has given the last 10 years to transform Georgia politics. 60 of my state legislative colleagues who have worked with both of us, but she has not one state legislative endorsement in the entire state capitol. And I need you to think about that, because we don't all get the chance to go to the Capitol, but trust the people who work there. Who can you work with? And I imagine that my bipartisan work probably does look like coddling Republicans to somebody who hasn't done any of it. So the bottom line is this. I am a fierce fighter. I have stood up to MAGA Republicans. I've called them narcissist coddlers to their face, but I get stuff done, and that's why I can win in November.
All right, thank you both. Early voting begins Monday, June 8th and runs through Friday, June 12th. Election Day is Tuesday, June 16th. Important dates to remember. We thank all of our candidates and our panel of journalists. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club and Georgia Public Broadcasting for arranging today's debate. I'm Karen Greer. Thank you for joining us again. The Atlanta Press Club Louder Milk Young Debate Series. Have a great evening.